I got my undergraduate degree at Quinnipiac University. I majored in health sciences. There, I was a Division I student athlete, so definitely that's where I learned a lot of good time management. From there, I went to UMass Lowell to get my master's degree in public health with a concentration in epidemiology. And then from there, I found my way through, the environmental health field. I actually started out at Northbridge as their part-time inspector, which I still am today. And then I was able to gain some experience in the field from there. And then I interviewed for a position at the Worcester Public Health Department last year. Got it, and I'm still working for them, and I'm enjoying it. It's definitely it's been a ride with the pandemic, but I definitely learn something new every day. And like I said earlier to some of the board members that were on, I'm pretty happy with the path I've chosen thus far. So that's me.
Wonderful. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Excuse me. Do you by any chance know Lenny Izzo?
I don't know him personally, but I have heard him. I've heard his name through Gene at Northbridge, so I know of him.
Currently, he's an older gentleman. He's in his late 70s, and currently he's out. You probably already know this. He's out of service right now due to an operation and recovery, and it's going to be for a while. And we would like to get someone in place, even when Lenny comes back, to have an option when it's not safe for us to have, as a town, to have held hostage, if you will, that someone could be ill or busy or they have a life, they go out of town, so on and so forth. So that's what we're looking for now. We're not looking to replace Lenny. We're looking for backup to start. And when Lenny tells us, I've had enough. He's already retired. I've had enough, and I'm going to bow out. We would like to have someone, and if you are available, and you are that person, to segue into becoming our regular health agent.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. Yeah, no, I would love that.
Okay. What is your availability with? You're holding down two jobs right now. The Worcester is a full-time job, and Northbridge is part-time?
Yeah, so Northbridge, I would say, is very, very part-time. It's more so on like an as-needed basis. And I primarily do housing inspections there, but with the pandemic, we've kind of ceased those unless it's like a severe emergency. So for that town, I really only do the housing inspections and the pool and tanning inspections. They themselves have a food inspector that's doing that at the moment. But yeah, and then I do coach occasionally. It's primarily on Saturdays. So I do have availability. My nights are pretty flexible, so it's kind of if the board has a preference as to certain days that they would like the inspections done, I'm definitely open to that. Or if you have no preference, I could just get them done as needed.
Okay. You live in Northborough?
I do. Yep.
Okay. How about random checks like in the evening as far as compliance with what's going on with COVID? That's where we're having an issue right now with one restaurant in particular.
Okay. Now with compliance, now is your process? Can you explain to me what process you'd like us to follow? Because I know each town is a little different as to how they want to enforce the guidelines. So what would you like done?
Missy, could you help us with that, please?
Okay. As far as the COVID, it's just making sure with especially with the restaurants, of the compliance as far as mask wearing. The tables are 6 feet apart, and that now that they've added in the capacity limit, just to make sure that restaurants are staying in compliant with those types of situations.
Mm-hmm. Right. So would that be, first violation, do you want a verbal? Second violation, do you want a written warning? Third, would you want a ticket? Or are we at this point as to where a fine should be enforced?
We, working with Lenny and stuff, Lenny was always on the side of trying to work with people and get them into compliance. So if we received complaints, we actually let it go to that. Once we had received the 5th complaint, that's when we started fining. He would go up and talk to, if we got a complaint, about a mask or whatever, he would either call or talk to the actual either manager on duty or the actual owner. So that's how we've worked it in the past. I don't know if the board wants to change that way of doing it, or if that's the way they want to keep doing it. But that's been the past practice for COVID.
Okay.
Andy, what do you
So,
think?
I like it. So as far as any random checks, for compliance, like we just talked about, would that be something that you could do, or would you be doing, just regularly scheduled inspections as if life was normal on the restaurants?
So definitely I could do the random checks as well. Yeah, that would be fine.
Okay. And you charge by each visit? How does that work for you?
So for example, like Northbridge, since it's super part-time, they do hourly. And if I were to get called out for, say, like a complaint, and it would only take me, an hour or whatever, I would get paid for a minimum of 2, just because of the drive.
Yeah, you have to have a minimum.
Yeah. So I basically get paid by the hour at Northbridge.
Okay. Missy, how does Lenny charge for this situation?
Lenny charges per inspection. So,
Okay.
whatever his fee, I know it was I think it's $75 an inspection. The only other question I would have as far as, Danielle, are you paid as a contractor or as an employee?
So
with Northbridge?
For Northbridge, I'm an employee with
Okay.
no benefits. Yep.
Okay. All right. So you filled out the paperwork for the Worcester County retirement, and not Worcester County because you're not full time, but the retirement. I forget what it's called because it's been so long. But yeah, to have taxes taken out. You're not considered a contractor.
Yeah. No, I'm not considered a contractor.
How would that work with us, Missy? Because Lenny is a contractor.
Danielle will just fill out the paperwork like any employee would, and she would.
So she could be an employee for Mendon?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, I'm confused from when we went through that with Lenny a little while ago.
Lenny doesn't want to be considered an employee.
Right.
That's the difference.
Okay.
So I'm actually open to whatever is easiest for you and the board. I've never been a contractor before, but if you just want me to jump right in as to how Lenny was, that's totally fine with me. I have no preference.
Okay,
Well,
that's something we could hash out, whichever works out best for you. And as far as the hourly wage, however it compares, so that you are equal in value and getting rewarded for the same service, I think that we should make sure that you're compensated for what you're doing for us when you jump on.
Great.
Tom, do you have some comments, please?
Tom, have comments? Not possible. Hi, Danielle. How are you? Thanks for joining the call tonight.
Thank you, Tom. I'm good.
Sure. Yeah, I was just taking a look at through your resume and some of the aspects of it. I had a question about certifications. Currently, what particular certifications do you currently hold with what you've been doing with Worcester and Northbridge?
Yeah. So I'm a food protection manager. I have my ServSafe certification. I am a CPO, a certified pool operations manager. I took the MassFit housing course a couple years ago, so I'm trained in that. and I'm looking to take my registered sanitarian exam within the next few months.
And what would that exam entail? What would that then give you, out of curiosity?
So I would be a registered sanitarian, and I would basically it would help with certifications and kind of just leveling my game up through the environmental health field. It just basically kind of shows that I am well-rounded in all areas of our profession. And what that would also help me to do is I don't do any Title V as of yet, just because I'm not experienced. So that would help get me a license and experience with that Title V too. So it would help. It would round me out as a better environmental health specialist.
Okay, great, excellent. That's a good. That would be a good plus as well.
Mm-hmm.
With regard to, you mentioned currently now with Northbridge, you're with them as an employee. Do you mind me asking what currently the pay rate is that they provide you as an employee?
Yes. Last I checked, it was $35 an hour.
Okay. And as an employee of Northbridge, is there a minimum amount of hours then that they would pay you, irrespective of the actual workload per se, that you're compensated for on a weekly basis?
So I think so like I said earlier, I don't know if I'm answering your question right. Like if I get called out for an emergency or something that I have to go do and it takes me, less than 2 hours, I get paid a minimum of 2 hours. So does that make sense?
Okay, yep. So even though you're considered an employee with Northbridge, it seems like they just pay you for the service that you actually render for them.
Mhm. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, so there's no minimum, say, 24-hour pay base as an employee. So they still kind of pay you for the time that you actually spend handling a particular issue, but you're still classified as an employee to the town.
Yes. Yep.
Gotcha. Okay. Yep. So it's kind of almost like a combination of employee slash, I guess, what I would call contractor type of a format.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I noticed too that in your resume, what caught my eye is you are actively involved in the sport of softball.
Yes. Yeah. It's something I really do enjoy. I played softball in college. I was a Division I athlete, and I have been coaching since I was 16. So I'm 26 now. So it's been a while. I coach at a training facility in Boxborough, and I help to coach a travel team as well. So definitely it's something I really enjoy. I love, teaching the kids things and watching them grow and improve. So, yep, something I like to do.
Excellent. No, that's a great skill set to have. I got a background myself in the area, and so it's always nice to see that something like that kind of offsetting the business side of things.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. We kind of touched on it a little bit earlier when we were talking about your approach as a health agent for a community. It seems like you might be kind of looking to the board to kind of give some guidance in terms of how you would be directed to handle situations. And I know that, Missy presented what had been current health agent's view, Lenny's view overall in terms of the kind of leeway he would provide establishments in terms of addressing issues that, come before him. And I know that the overall perspective that Lenny has put out there, which from my perspective, I tend to agree with, is that we've always tried to be educational in nature when dealing with an issue that might come before us or a complaint, such that we wouldn't necessarily be looking to quote unquote bring a hammer down, on someone, but more or less started with a conversation. And really, in some cases, we find that some folks just aren't aware of what might have been needed, or under a misunderstanding. So sometimes just a conversation with the health agent has helped to kind of clarify, and most often folks are very responsive, and things kind of move along. Occasionally we do have the what I'll call the exception, where the buttons get pushed a little bit. I'll say from my perspective, and kind of alluding to the softball background, I'm kind of a 3 strikes you're out kind of a person.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know Lenny has been generous in the process that he's followed. I personally would like to see a little bit less of a rein. I think if you're going back to see somebody up to a 3rd time, I think at that point it should be a realization that they're just not getting the message, and maybe something has to be done at the third visit versus going as far as 5 or 6. To be honest with you, that may be more of a discussion from a board level, but I'm just wanted to give you my perspective. But yeah, so it sounds like you have some good, well-rounded skill sets, and I'd love to see you maybe come on board and do some work for us.
Yeah, no, I would love the opportunity, and I am very grateful for having my job in Worcester, because since we're regional and I work in a lot of different towns, I think working in multiple different towns just kind of gives me tons of different experience, and I think it just makes me like a better worker. So I would love the opportunity to come in and work for you guys.
Okay, great. Well, I think that probably wraps up what I have at my end, Mr. Chairman.
Missy, excuse me, have you shared with Danielle how many facilities we have in town, restaurants? Just so she has an idea what Mendon has.
I gave her a ballpark, but the other thing that we also have a lot of is the food trucks.
Home kitchen.
So we have probably 30 some, and when I give you a number, that includes residential kitchens, it includes convenience stores, and it includes our restaurants. So we have probably about 35 establishments in town. And then this past year, because of COVID and everybody jumping on the food truck, we had probably 4 or 5 additional permits issued. They were basically really in one spot. It was at, we have a winery, a vineyard in town, and they would bring in different entities, on different weekends. So that's the only other thing, as far as in addition to keep in mind, is those food trucks. Andy?
Something else to consider, that we've had over the past few years, had some issues with the drive-in, another couple of small venues with temporary food permitting. And we've got it pretty well established right now, I believe. But in formulation of our regulations, it would be great to have some more input from somebody in the field if we were going to tweak what we have for, have your input for our standards for temporary food permits, home kitchens, and things of that nature. That would be a big plus to work with us.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Alan, do you have some comments, please?
Yes, I do. First of all, let's see. Some of my questions were already answered or already asked. Restaurant inspection, on average, how long do you think it takes you to do a complete restaurant inspection, Danielle?
Such a good question. It's on average, I would say anywhere between 45 minutes to an hour 15. I would honestly say it's dependent upon the restaurant. and just kind of like their past history as to, their what I have to look for if I see that, they're constant violators of certain parts of the food code. Obviously, like, I look for those. With other restaurants, sometimes I have to spend a little extra time with educating. So I'd say on average between 45 minutes to an hour 15.
Okay, thank you very much. And to sort of echo Tom's view of the Board of Health in the town of Mendon, we really try to work together as a team. We kind of lean on each other. We all have some strengths, and we all have some areas that we're not as educated in as our team members. But together, we manage to, I feel, do a good job at protecting the public and representing, the Board of Health. So our philosophy is always to try to help people comply with the guidelines and the rules and regulations. As Tom mentioned, we're definitely not trying to trip anyone up or strong arm anyone. Some of our businesses are easier to deal with than others, and we just adjust so that we can, all get along. And along the way, as a board, we're always learning new things. So we always look forward to, people sharing information and experiences with us. Again, this is a team effort. So we want to continue to be successful. The other thing I wanted to ask was your concentration in epidemiology.
Mm-hmm.
Quickly, without going into too much detail, because you are sort of here more or less for an interview, but I'd like your view on COVID-19, please.
My view on COVID-19, overall or a specific aspect of it?
No, just kind of give me your overall view. We obviously have people that believe. We obviously have people that are non-believers.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the educational background and obviously some experience in the city of Worcester. Just your take on COVID-19 and maybe how we're doing as far as, combating it.
Right. Well, definitely, I 100% believe that it's a serious virus that I wish a lot more people took seriously. I've had some friends and family members pass away from the virus, so obviously it's a sensitive topic. How we are doing as a nation, I would say pretty poor. As a state, I think we're doing much better with enforcement of the COVID-19 safety guidelines, taking it more seriously. In terms of vaccination, I think we can do better with distributing the vaccine and getting it out to those that really need it. Personally, I think that it should be 24/7 vaccination until we get more on top, because I think, from the beginning, we've been playing catch up with this. So I think with some drastic measures, I think need to be taken to get ahead. And, with the new variants of the virus, people are starting to see that, this isn't a political hoax. It is a virus. It's a serious virus that, affects every single person differently. And if it's not going to affect you seriously, you need to have, the kindness and the humanity to wear a mask and do what needs to be done to protect your neighbor. And I think, unfortunately, we're not seeing that as often as I would like. So.
Danielle, thank you very much for your honesty, and I apologize for your personal losses. As a member of the Board of Health, my personal opinion is I've never been afraid of it, but I've always tried to be respectful of it because
Right.
I'm not as educated in the science of it as I would like to be or as you are. So thank you very much for sharing that with us and your honesty. Other than that, I'm good. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, we have, just a quick question. We have, there's been more than one, but one place in particular messes with us as far as, and this is again between them and the board, but just to pick your brain a little bit and see how you would handle it. And I know in a position where if you took the job, you would be asking the board, how would we like you to proceed? But I just like to have your input as far as expired restaurant licenses that we've gone to a new, I'm getting all over the place here, expired restaurant licenses, expired ServSafe, nobody on board, on duty at certain times in certain facilities that have anti-choking. I'm trying to think clearly on this. Our renewal application form used to go out November 1st. We've since backed it up to October 1st, and it goes out certified mail now because we've been getting jerked around too many times. And we still have an issue with some people not doing it in a timely manner, getting all their paperwork back. And we feel that we've been messed with unnecessarily. Do you have any thoughts on any of that?
So that's something that we're dealing with actually in one of our towns. So personally, I would definitely look at, the history of the establishment to see, hey, is this out of character? Why are they late? And then kind of investigate to see. But, if this is a repeat offender as to where, we're having to chase them down for proper, certifications that ensure that, the business that they're operating is in compliance and safe, then I would have to have a discussion with them to say, until you get these necessary documents and applications to us, then I don't feel safe for you to operate your business at this time, due to the fact that we've given you plenty of time to get them to us. And there's been a lack of communication as to you needing more time from us to get something done, or just complete disregard for our timeline. Then I don't feel like you are allowed to operate at this time.
Thank you. How, in your opinion, how are you as far as your strength and your boldness to when you confront somebody in a restaurant that is not so much physically combative, but verbally and messes with you or us? Are you strong in that field, or are you a pussycat?
So I would say that I'm pretty good at standing my ground. I'm pretty confident in the codes and regulations that I am enforcing. And personally, I think I'm pretty good at staying level-headed and de-escalating the situation if it does get to that. So I would have no problem, laying down the law and telling them things that they don't like to hear, because it's a part of our job. We're not always the most favorite people, especially, with
Right.
people that don't decide to follow the rules. But yeah, I have no problem with that.
Do you
Good to
prefer an
know.
aluminum bat or a wooden bat?
I would have no problem, getting into those types of situations and not backing down.
There's something about the ping of an aluminum bat.
Yeah.
Our police department, not that we have, I don't want to scare you off because this is not the case. We do not have situations that require police presence, and they are not physically combative, but verbally and fighting back verbally and messing with us is one of the biggest issues we have. Not with all of them, but it is out there. We have had a housing issue It's been a few years ago now that we did have to involve the police. Actually, there's been a couple of them. I've had to go look at a house, and I call the police department, and they accompany us. And if you came to work for us, I don't know if that's the case in other towns that you work in, but they certainly have no issue, no problem assisting us if the case should arise.
Mhm.
So that's good to know that you're strong and you stand your ground. I like that.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Missy, do you have any more input?
I would just ask, when you guys have your temporary food permit applications, I can't remember if it's 14 or 21 days, but if we have someone that's having an event, whether it's at a drive-in, whether it's at Van de Valks or whatever, I would wonder, Danielle, for you, how much lead time would you need to know if an event was going to happen on the weekend to be able to get your schedule in order to do an inspection? Because we are a small town, we don't have full-time staff, and we've tried to give enough time for an inspector to be able to, have the time to do a proper inspection. What would your timeline be as far as what you would need from us to give you a heads up? Oh, we've got this event coming up. We need you to go out and do an inspection on a Saturday.
Great question, Miss.
Well, definitely. I'm a planner, so as soon as like the finalized like location and times and what would be happening there, you could definitely send it over to me. So as soon as you guys know, really, the more time the better.
Currently, we have 14 days, right, Missy?
I haven't looked at the temporaries in a while, but I think it's 14 days. It could be 21 days, but I'm pretty sure it's 14.
Actually, Tom, go ahead, Alan.
Didn't we go to 21 with an absolute of 14?
Yes, that's what it was. I was trying to remember that. Okay. What we used to be was it 30 days, Missy, when the drive-in, the Endelmans came to town?
Yeah, it was 30 days.
And we were getting a lot of pushback. See, Lenny is a shared resource. He worked for Millville, at the time was Hopedale also. Milford, he's full-time Board of Health. He worked for us. He's in Upton. Was he Northbridge too? He was quite a few. He was a shared resource. So he required as much time as he could possibly get when there's going to be a temporary food permit issued to do an inspection on the site where they're going to be serving food. And when the Endelmans came to town and they had these events, we got an incredible amount of aggression. And we adjusted. We had a conversation with Lenny, and we adjusted to 14 days. And then probably about a year ago, as Alan just stated, it went to 21 days is what we're asking. If they have to go a little bit further, 14 is the absolute minimum. So I just, for the intents and purposes, I would say 14 days from the date of the event. The application has to be in our office, not the check or the application dated 14 days, has to be in our office 14 days physically prior to the event. Does that, would that be lead time enough for you in most cases to do inspections on venues in Mendon?
Yes, I'd say 2 weeks is definitely would be enough time for me to schedule everything. Yep.
Okay, good news. Very good. Tom, do you have any more comments or questions?
Well, just one follow-up, actually, on the heels of what Alan had asked about, Danielle, with respect to COVID-19 and the pandemic. I'm just wondering, throughout the process of all this, have you had opportunity to participate in any of the health calls that happen on a weekly basis from DPH? And if so, what's been your take on that participation?
So I have not had an opportunity to been on the DPH calls. I know that one of my colleagues sits on and sends us all notes from the calls. I think they, I think they're helpful, but lately it's just been a lot of the same rhetoric, and oftentimes when someone has a very good question, they don't know the answer. But what I have, I've jumped on one of the CDC calls, one of the weekly CDC calls that deals with like EDS sites, vaccine distribution, and obviously common COVID-19, complaints and roadblocks that different states and counties and what have you have been dealing with. So I feel like that that's a really beneficial call for me to be on. So yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. Appreciate that. Mr. Chairman?
Yes? Alan, do you have something else?
No, it all sounds good to me, and I actually see a lot of positive coming out of this relationship if we were to go forward. I think your experience in the city of Worcester and you're working for Northbridge, you may actually come across, like in the case of the food trucks, you may come across people you've already done inspections for one reason or the other. So I think that some of these things will kind of overlap and only work to the benefit of our team. Thank you.
Thank you.
So your turn, Danielle. Do you have questions for us?
I don't think any questions. Again, thank you so very much for giving me this opportunity to speak. I know we previously had it scheduled for yesterday, but everything's been moving around because of COVID, so I had to cover a meeting. So again, thank you for this opportunity. And no questions, but definitely I feel like we're all on the same page with a lot of things, like as the board was saying with enforcement. Definitely, I've been taught, and I believe in educating, not punishment. But also, obviously, if we keep getting pulled around and I keep showing up at the same place, then obviously there's some type of disconnect or lack of respect, and that's where, the enforcement piece has to come into play. So I think we're on the same page with that. And I'm just excited to help out in the town and learn more, learn every day.
Excellent. Basically compliance. Missy, could you please tell us at this point what, after discussion with all of us, and I'm sure I think I know where we're going to go with our discussion, but I'm not clairvoyant. What is the process for Danielle to start working for us?
Oh, well, the next step would be that if you guys decide to go that route, she would have to fill out the paperwork as an employee, and then move from there. That would be the biggest thing, is to get her on the payroll, and working out how she would submit paperwork and how she, whether it's a bill, a voucher, whatever, a payroll sheet, whatever, however it worked. And then go from there and just see what kind of equipment, or I don't know if you do inspections by paper, or do you prefer an iPad, things like that. And then just really kind of starting to figure out, how to move together, and, getting her set up enough to know what restaurants need to be gone to first, who are the players, things like that.
That's basically my question. What is the procedure to the formalities, the paperwork that needs to be done, and all what you just said? So that's all great.
Yep.
Along those lines, Danielle, do you have any questions for Missy?
Well, to answer one of your questions, I personally like paper, but in one of my towns we do a tablet, so I have no preference, but I have plenty of inspection sheets that I can use, but no preference.
We've got plenty of inspection forms and stuff. I just didn't know. I know some towns they only want to do it on an iPad. Some towns do both and some just strict paper. So we definitely have enough inspection forms for you, so you wouldn't have to use anything from either your own supplies or from any other towns. We definitely have enough of that stuff.
Okay.
And currently, we do not have an iPad, so if that was your preference, we would have to run out and get one. So hearing that you like to do paper is good.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, it's been wonderful talking with you, and I'm excited to have you working with us. And we need to have a conversation. So I don't know if we're going to do it now or when you leave the call, or we're going to do another time. Missy, what do you think?
That's up to you guys on how you feel. You do have if you don't want to make a decision tonight and you want to mull it over the weekend, you do have a meeting next Tuesday just to discuss the VNA contract with the town administrator. And then you meet again on for your normal regular meeting on Wednesday, January 20th. So it would really depend on how fast you guys want to move. If Danielle gets off the call tonight and you guys have a small discussion and make your decisions, by all means, that's up to you guys.
I'm all for that because we're in dangerous territory with Lenny being out. And I think that it won't take long for this conversation between the four of us. So Danielle, thank you very much for coming in, and we'll talk to you soon. You have Missy's contact info, right? Phone number, email?
Yes, I do. Yep.
And Missy, you have hers?
Yes.
Very good. Thank you very much, Danielle. We're going to have a conversation right now, and you'll be informed in the morning.
All right. Thank you all so very much for your time. Have a good night.
Thank you, Danielle. You as well.
No, you hang up.
Well, Danielle has left the meeting, so
She's off the call?
she's off the call. Yep.
Hire her. That's what I vote. Excuse me?
Yeah, Booker. Yeah,
Look,
Booker. Get her on board. I think
Alan?
the one question that I'd pose, and I guess this is going to be a Kim thing, is from a rate perspective, what will we be prepared to pay her?
At this point, pretty much whatever she wants. If she gets paid $35 an hour, you have that in your budget to cover that. If she asked for more than that, you have that in the budget right now to cover that.
and that's comparable to what Lenny is. That's actually a little bit less because if she gets a 2-hour minimum, then she's only $70, and very rarely would anything take longer than 2 hours. If it went over for 3 hours, it's not a big deal. I think she's going to be a great asset for us, especially her age and her willingness to. She's very, very attentive and she's I don't want to say gung ho, but she's ready.
Enthusiastic.
Yeah, that's it. Alan, you still awake?
I am. I was just patiently waiting my turn.
Your turn.
Tell AJ. AJ, you're obviously impressed with the aluminum bat aspect. I can.
That ping.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to get hit with a softball either. I don't know what position she plays, but a softball will leave a mark. No, I'm very impressed with her educational background. I'm very impressed with her youth, but yet she's not too young. I'm impressed with her enthusiasm, and it seems as though her outlook is very similar to ours. So I think she would be a good fit. I was encouraged with the rate that Northbridge is paying her because as I was doing some calculations on my piece of paper here, it looked like it was something that we could manage and we didn't have to try to, appropriate more money, et cetera. Again, I was very impressed that at 26 years old, she's still willing to use pen and paper. That's it for me.
So, Missy, if we get everything in place and she's ready to go to work, obviously when he comes back, Lenny's our number one. How do you handle the need for an inspection. And it's so encouraging that she can do housing also. And
Mhm.
she's willing to learn Title V. God bless her. She could be the
Mhm.
total package. We could be onto something good here. How would you handle it in what if both of them were ready to go to work, come back, and you got a need for someone to do something? I think I understand. I think I know what to expect. You call Lenny first. If he can't make it, then you call her. Is
Mhm.
that how it would be,
Yeah,
or would we share it?
that's how I would do it. I would, as Lenny is only out because of medical issues. I would, and he says, "Yep, I'm back. I'm ready to do, you know, the job again." I would throw it out to him first. If he says, "I got too much on my plate," okay, no problem. I'll call Danielle and let her know. I think was speaking with her. I know Jean from Northbridge spoke very highly of her, was very happy with her. Um, Talking to her, she sounds like she'd be a very good fit for us. We're not too taxing where she would feel like she is being weighed down and have too much of a commitment to us. I think the board, I think you guys are very flexible and willing to work with, whoever would come on board, whether it's Lenny, whether it's Danielle. So yeah, I mean, if you guys are good with it, and you make a vote tonight, then I can send her an email after we're done saying, yes, we're ready to start, and then, if she wants to be paid $35 an hour an hour, yeah, as she is with a 2 hour minimum. I can double check with Kim to find out, as this is only a temporary as of right now, because we formally did not advertise it because we're in a pinch. Um, if this were to turn into more of a permanent type of situation, we would have to advertise it. But I would also, speak with Kim to find out, how do we go about, do we need a formal contract with her, or does she just come on board as an employee, like she stated with Northbridge, and then just pay her for whatever inspections we've asked her to do? Andy?
All good stuff. If by chance, now, because it's a temporary, it does not need to go out to bid?
Correct.
Is that right?
Yes, we're temporary. We're just looking for someone to get us by. And then
Okay,
we had this conversation with Kim, I believe, last year, and she was on board and she had agreed. Correct me if I'm wrong, if you guys remember it differently. And at that time last year, I did get a substantial increase in the budget for contracted services in case there was a time where we had to switch gears and Lenny was not going to work for us anymore and we had to hire someone at a much higher rate. So money, we have $10,000 in that line item right now. It used to be 3,400. So we got the quite a bit of a bump.
long as it doesn't get taken away from us with the new budget. But, so my question is, if she comes on as a temp and say a year from now, or a fair amount of time, let's use a year, Lenny gives us that, I'll see you later, I'm going home.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't that at that point be a lateral move where we already have somebody in place and we put her in the position? Do you think that we would have to go out to bid? Tom, do you have any ideas on that?
I think that's probably going to have to be a Kim question in terms of how the municipality has to operate and what guidelines
Okay.
they're so because of who we are. I think that's probably from her perspective. We'd have to get the answer.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Missy.
Just keep in mind that you would get your guidance from Kim as far as whether or not you need to advertise or not, but the decision to hire is strictly on the board. No one else, and that is in mass. I don't know if it's the regulation of Mass General Law, and if you want it, I can find it for you. But you are responsible for staffing your department how you see fit. No one else can tell you how to staff it. Just so you know.
Cool. All right, could I have a vote, please? All in favor?
Aye.
I'm in favor.
Aye.
Okay, so
Aye.
just for minutes purposes, Who's going to make the motion and who's going to second it? And the motion is going to be that you're going to hire Danielle. Oh my goodness, I forgot what her last name was.
Edmonds.
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 As a temporary part-time health agent for the town of Mendon with an unknown term, as we're waiting for Lenny to give us that feedback.
All what you just said.
Who's making the motion though? Is it Alan or is it going to be Tom?
Does it really matter?
I can pick.
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
There you go. I'll second.
Very good. I will, when we conclude, I will let Danielle let her know that you guys have voted to hire as a temporary food inspector, and that we'll be in touch. I'll be in touch with her next week to work out all of the logistics and paper and all that other good stuff.
I did have a follow-up question, just in regards to this whole position thing. What has transpired with the other gentleman that provided some references from? I think he was basically going to be somebody from a Title V side of things. Is that right?
Oh,
Steve Donatelli.
Yeah, that gentleman. Yeah, I forgot his name. Thanks, Andy. Had he ever been used at all?
No. As
Okay.
of right now, because to date, Tom Ryder has been able to handle everything. But I had spoken to actually Andy about this the other day. It's good right now because, you know, the weather and everything, but as soon as the springtime starts hitting and the perk testing starts gearing up, you know, if Tom feels like he can't handle it, then I would say you guys bring Steve Donatelli back in and talk to him and find out what his availability is and what would he be willing to do.
Okay, thank you.
Alan, at the beginning of the meeting, you had a comment about a follow-up on something. What was that pertaining to?
I don't remember, but I will ask a quick question. What are we charging for a restaurant license in town right now?
It all depends on what kind of permit it is. If you're looking at the big restaurants, it's $200. If you're looking, and when I say big restaurants, it's Alicante, Lowell's Steakhouse, Willowbrook, the bigger ones. Other than that, it's $100. And that would be something like the pizza places, you know, Muffin House, Dunkin' Donuts, things like that. And then I believe it's $75 for the convenience stores. And it's $100.
Okay,
It's $100 for residential kitchens.
Right. Okay. No. So our fees are going to cover Danielle just the way they've been covering Lenny.
Yeah.
So it's all good.
Yep. And if you, after
All right.
a time period working with her, if it seems like we're, you know, she's more than what Lenny was or whatever, you can always take a look at your permit fees again in the future.
And readjust.
Mm-hmm.
Tom, did you by any chance happen to see the email? If we're done with this, are we done with Danielle
Yes.
at this time?
Yep.
Okay, it's all good. Please email her.
Yep.
Speaking of email, did you send that email I asked you about earlier today?
No, I had never had time.
Okay.
Crazy. I did find, well, because right after I got off the phone with you, I started looking for stuff and my internet and phone went down. I'm like, son
Okay,
of a.
but did you find it?
Yep, I do. I have it right here.
Okay, very good. You're just rattling some tissue paper, I know.
I'm not.
All right, I hope you send that because I'm going to check on it. If we're done with this, Tom, did you by any chance happen to see the email from Michelle from Salmon VNA? Tom?
AJ, I just
Sorry,
remember
I
the
was
follow
on
up when you're ready.
Yeah. Sorry, I was on mute. I'm actually just looking at it right now, Andy. Give me a minute to peruse it now, and you can jump in with something if you have in the meantime.
All right, I'll get to Alan, but for right now, I just have, as you read it, I'm thinking about the passion that you had last night at our meeting, talking about the finger and the WTF, and I want you to be the one to respond to her. Go ahead, Alan. What can you add, please?
Okay, I did do that research. Thank you very much, Tom,
That was it,
refreshing, refreshing my memory. I talked to my daughter Morgan, and she did work directly for Michelle at her, time at Salmon Healthcare. She, and this is just for us, she said that it was organized chaos, and her emails always left a lot to be desired.
Pretty much what we found also.
Yeah, so she basically confirmed what our suspicions were. Not that she wasn't, a nice person. Morgan said if she were to take the job that was offered to her after graduation, and this woman did offer her a considerable sum of money to stay, Morgan doesn't feel as though she would have been there very long. Just because of the work habits. So that's probably the nicest way to put it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good. No, thank you. That's good information. Thank you for all of us to let sink in, and that is all just between us.
So, Andy, I don't know if you looked at your emails recently, because I did forward you off what Michelle had said, but then she came back with additional information. I don't know if that's what Tom is reviewing, and I sent that out about 10 minutes before our meeting tonight.
Yeah, that's the one I'm looking at.
Did you look at the first one from this afternoon, Tom?
Oh, there was another one earlier?
Yeah, that's the one I'm referring to.
Oh, what time did that come in?
Right there. Oh, was that? What happened?
I'm looking at the one that Missy just mentioned from 10 minutes before our meeting.
One second.
I'm not seeing anything else that's related to VNA today. Anyway.
That came in at, I sent that out at 11:30 this morning. Basically what it said, so the email I sent to her was that inviting her to your meeting on the 12th, and that how it will be conducted, and that our town administrator will join us also, and to let me know either way. And her response was, can you share what the concerns or questions are? All other towns have signed the agreement to date. I don't know if that would add to their comfort level.
Yeah, I see it now. Yep, it just had it was subject threw me off. It was BOH meeting. Okay, I'm looking at it. Yep. Well, I'll just say what I alluded to last night. I don't give a damn what the other towns are doing, to be honest with you.
Thank you.
So.
That was my first response.
So I responded back to her, letting her know that, because she said she could add in some changes. She asked what questions. I specifically told her about the pricing schedule. That whole, I just copy and pasted and put it in the, into the email. And I said, as this reads, it's a monthly billing of $3,500. And that's how the board is reading it. And according to the emails, one of them, it's $3,500 from September to December. And the other one says from July to December. And that I just explained that some of the board members want to know more about what services the town of Mendon is going to be receiving during the pandemic. And that I'd already asked some questions, but that turned into having more questions, so that I couldn't, I don't have the answers to. And that's what her response was.
And one of the things that Alan has alluded to numerous times, and he's right, this was supposed to be an insurance policy. What is out of the contract? What have you been doing that's out of the contract that we didn't give approval for you to start charging us to do.
Right?
Well, I think Alan Stoddard's assessment sounds like it's right in line with what we're gathering from what we're reading from Michelle's email communications. And I'm just kind of amazed, given her position, that the way in which she communicates leaves a little bit to be desired.
I agree.
No, I mean, my understanding, I know that there have been, a lot of work is involved with the contact tracing and whatnot, with speaking with Anne. But then again, and I think that's what you guys had brought up last night but yeah, there's a lot of work, but how much of that work that's going on is actually involving the town of Mendon?
Yeah, key question.
I have no doubt that they have nurses working a lot of hours and putting in a lot of work. But how much of that, especially if I talk to the girl from Uxbridge, they're paying $3,500. North is paying $3,500. We're paying $3,500. I did not get a chance to call Jackie today, but how if you're charging Northbridge and Uxbridge 35, why is Mendon getting 35 if we have a much smaller population and our positivity rate is smaller than those other communities? Andy?
That's the biggest thing, is the positivity rate. We're much smaller. We didn't go in red for quite a while. You there?
I'm here. I'm just reading an email that I got from the school department. This is my 4th email since Saturday, and it's only because I have kids in the district, letting us know that another additional 3 confirmed cases, 1 at Clough and 2 at Misco. I believe I got one earlier or yesterday that said there was another 3, and those were up at Nipmuc. So, it's definitely crazy.
Are those cases amongst the student population or the staff? Do we know?
They don't give that information out in these emails.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, anything else, anybody? Good, Alan.
That kind of correlates with Danielle's viewpoint that unfortunately some people are not being respectful of the other people around them, regardless of what their viewpoint is on COVID, that they need to, protect others. Very unfortunate.
Yep. All right, if nobody has anything else, we can close the meeting. Correct?
Yep. I will email Danielle as soon as we get off the line here. And again, I will meet with you guys next Tuesday at 6 o'clock. Kim has already responded that she will be there.
And I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Yay.
Thank you.
And I'll second it.
Enjoy your
Teamwork.
evening. Good night. Yes, sir.
Good night, everyone.
Night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night, all.